Welcome, everybody. I am Boysen Hodgson, ManKind Project USA Communications and Marketing Director. And there are a bunch of us in the house. You'll see the slide with names on who's going to be speaking tonight. And welcome to all of the communities that are in the house. Dan has said it a couple of times, but if you have not done so, add your community to the end of your name. And welcome. I'm going to share a slide. First, I'm going to activate that slide. Presenter view. And there we are. We're going to share that slide. Welcome to the Bill Kauth Excellence in Community Awards for the 2021 year. And I'm going to go one more slide and we'll introduce folks. You'll be hearing from Dan Baldwin tonight. You'll be hearing from Sultani Tripp. You'll be hearing from Anthony Lombardi, who I think is on Tony on the screen tonight. And Michael Drum will be heading up the back end of the house with our Zoom meeting. Welcome if you're coming into the room. I'll go turn off the ding sound in just a moment. Dan, do you want to take it over?
Yeah, let me talk a little bit about the community support team, Dan and Sultani and Anthony. We do a lot to support communities. So Tripp does an incredible job of providing lists of who lives in a community, is graduating in a community. We on MKP Connect, there's several support pages and with ideas and ways to create and how to onboard a community and how to grow and how to handle challenges within a community. So just really want to honor Sultani Tripp. He'll be presenting a lot of things later on tonight. And I also want to honor Tony. Tony does the monthly call where community coordinators come monthly and we talk about what best practices, again, challenges, get support, and share some of our best practices there. And he'll be talking more about that. So we make up the community support team and happy to be here to support growing communities. If we can go to the next slide, please. So what is the Bill Kauth Community Excellence Award? We started this in 2016. There was a concerted effort in MKP to start thinking about growing or honoring what already was happening, which is groups of men and groups of I groups coming together in a city. And we also learned a lot about the importance of geography and growth as a community, this feeling of connection that is beyond just an I group or a group connection, but into a larger connection of how we show up in our world and with each other, supporting each other. So we spent a lot of time studying communities, including some of the wonderful ones that we had. We did a lot of models out in the Northwest and some of the other areas and looked at what they were doing and read a lot of books and came up with this concept. I do want to give Bill Kauth a minute or two here and acknowledge him. Bill Kauth, one of our founders, has always had this concept of community and has tended to it, has probably done the most research on community. So I'm going to have him speak for a minute or two about the importance of community. Bill?
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you for doing this. It's beautiful. And honestly, of all the things that's happened in the last 30, I think we're in our 38th year or something now, is I love that there's 10,000 men that sit in iGroup every single week, someplace on the planet. That's just something I'm proud of. And, you know, Zoe and I have been building what we call tribes, building community. We've been all over the world. We wrote the book on it. I got to tell you, it is so goddamn hard. It is just difficult. It is one of the most astonishingly challenging things I could even imagine. So the fact that we're doing it here is a flipping miracle. I am really, really proud of this. So thanks so much. Welcome.
Excellent. Thanks, Bill. We can go back to the slides and show, we have a map here of our communities in MKP. We have currently 121 communities across the United States. And this is super important because when we have a resource in a town and people are learning about MKP, they now have a place to go to talk to somebody. And even if it's just 2 or 3 people that are holding space for community and maybe holding open men's groups or just willing to go out for coffee, that's how it starts. One man with another holding space, and then it's suddenly growing and going more and more. So celebrating the 121 communities at rather rapidly birthed, and we get more each year. So just really, really happy about this map and looking forward to more of these lights going on across the nation. Cool, we'll go to the next slide then. I'm going to have Tony speak. For anybody who wants to start a community, for anybody that's in the role of community coordinator and going, what the heck, what is it about? What did I get myself into? Or if you're looking to jumpstart or energize and you haven't taken action, totally okay. We're volunteers here. We go through our own personal slumps and there's our own challenges we face around energizing. Tony can speak a little bit more about that. We're really there for each other. As far as those that show up are really, really connected. So Tony, go ahead. I'm going to introduce Tony Longobardi. Has been doing this for a year. Thank you, Tony, for taking that over.
Yeah, thank you, Dan, for trusting me and holding this space. It's good to see some brothers that I've seen recently. Lonnie, good to see you, my friend. Jim, it's good to see you as well. And I'm happy to see Daryl as well in this call as well. We did an LKSI together with Lonnie, and it's super, super amazing to see men that are still connected to the community. And kind of that's what this community coordinator call does, right? Is we remind people that they're not alone on these journeys. They're not alone in these communities. And even though it can feel that way sometimes as we try to build or try to grow or try to sustain, it's just a good place for us to share best practices. It's a good place for us to share pains and anguish and difficulty. And, I was the community coordinator I still kind of am the supporting community coordinator in this role, but we're kind of leaning towards more of a committee instead of like a specific individual. And I'm really, really excited about that idea. And hopefully it's something that we can really flush out for the rest of the communities out there that are struggling with just one person trying to do everything, right? Because that's hard. And Jim Drews will tell you, they have 4 or 5 people out there that do that stuff, and that their community is just amazing. But we in this call, we last night was the second Tuesday, and last night we really talked about what reintegration into weekends was going to look like, how we feel about that, how we feel in supporting that kind of things. And this is the kind of stuff that we as community coordinators have our hands in, right? How is our community doing in the ways of leadership track, in the ways of running weekends, hosting weekends? How was our New Brother Network going? How are these things going? And it's a great opportunity to say, and what I think it made me popular or angry to some is I called all 600 and almost 70 members of my community. I kind of went under the radar and took it upon myself to call every individual who's ever done a weekend through MKP Indianapolis. And I felt a little bit strong after doing that, and I decided to call Bill Kauth too. He may remember this, he may not, but he ended up picking up. So him and I had a conversation too. And this is the place that I hope to see more men. I hope to see more community builders. I want to really, really try to build this call up to support men across the community, to share best practices, to share pains and stories that we all experience, because community leadership is tough. Some of us are really like more in the support role of the community leadership, and we can build in communities and things like that. Or some of us, like me, wanted to be the only one. And so I did that for a little while. I'm ready to turn the reins over to a committee style. And so I hope to see more. Lonnie, I hope to see you. It's a good space for us to connect. Jim Drews has been coming. He's a regular. Jim Catona has been coming. He's a regular. Anthony Rusty Puppy's been coming. He's a regular. And I hope to see more of that, right? Because I want to share a piece of me and I want to get to know you. So thanks so much, Dan, for letting me have a little piece.
You bet. Thank you, Anthony, for your enthusiasm. It's so contagious. I hear that over and over again of people who show up about how energetic and how enthusiastic and passionate you are. So thank you for that, being that beacon.
Thank you. And I'm going to jump off here as well, gentlemen. Thank you so much. My friends in town from Alaska. I just wanted to jump in this piece. So see you, men. I hope to see you at the next call. Second Tuesday of the month. Peace, brothers.
Thanks, Tony.
Excellent. So we're going to be moving to a section before we get to our two winners, where we're going to be introducing past winners. But I want to talk a little bit more about how we do the Community Excellence Award. Every year at the end of the year, me and Tripp send out a survey to all the communities and ask them to fill out. And there's extensive questions on there about what they're doing, what's their goal, what their challenges are. And we, get 60 plus fillers out that take the time to put the time in to fill it out. And then the core leadership circle gets those, and we have the tough decision on how to nominate two. And I want to say it's really tough to narrow it down to the two. The two that we do are, we wanted to separate it into the larger communities, those that are 40 or more kind of active men in the community that are we ask, that's one of the questions we ask, are they sustaining? And the sustaining community is one of the winners, and that's the large ones. And then we have a reward for one of the for more smaller ones, 1, 2, 3 I groups under 40 people. And we've been doing that since 2016. We have many of the winners here. What we rate them on are the 3 pillars of community. When you charter a community, we emphasize 3 pillars. The first one, the most important one, is connection. Is that there are activities that cause connection amongst all brothers in the communities, that there's space or outreach efforts, and that's why we support so much. There's a saying that I came across this year, I collect community quotes, that vulnerability and the connection is the basis of community. So the more we can be vulnerable with each other, ask for help, the more we can risk sharing with each other in a community format and gather and be there for each other. And certainly COVID has allowed for a lot of us to do that. I've been very, very proud of the stories I've heard of how communities have shown up, or men have shown up for each other during this time of challenge. So one of the pillars is connection. The second one is support for our men's circles, that we have means and teams or consciousness of how healthy are our I groups and men's circles that are running in those communities. And we have men that are learning, taking IGFT, showing up at I groups, traveling magicians, or people just kind of checking in with them. So that's another pillar of community that we look at. And the third one is support for the NWTA. And that's open circles, meet and greets, staffing, how many actually people are being invited to NWTAs from the community here in Milwaukee and Wisconsin. When we show up on weekends, it's like the staff men are like, we're from Milwaukee and we're from Rockford, and you get this echoing in the room, and we're like got this feeling of every community showing up, Rockford, Appleton, Madison, and we're celebrating that community pride on the weekend. And gearing up for a weekend, we're celebrating that community pride on how are we supporting this growth, because the purpose of the weekend for us is very much one way we support the growth of our community. We want initiated men in our community, so we need weekends to happen in order to get more men in our community, and it's a really important thing. They're not just numbers, they're brothers. We're welcoming into our brotherhood and into our town and into our lives. So that being said, there's also this mission of service out there in the world that we talk about, and many of our communities are about men coming together and taking action in the world. So that's another factor that we also look besides the 3 pillars of that we talk about. And you'll hear some of the incredible missions that communities have done too, if you listen to our past winners. So with that being said, I'm going to hand it off to Sultani Tripp, who's going to introduce and hold space for the past winners.
Yeah, so Dan and I had this idea that we wanted to get all the past winners in here and just have them speak a little bit to their community since they've won. We went back to 2016 and started there and moved closer and closer to today. So honoring our 2016 recipients, next slide. Our first community was Durango. Definitely a community that's done a lot of community work in their area. Rick Anderson is the current community coordinator and was at the time as well. I don't think Rick's here. He wanted to come, but I don't see him in the room. Rick, are you here? I didn't think so. Oh, and whenever I think of Durango, I think of Matt Kelly too. I remember Matt being a longtime member of that community, and what a wonderful, wonderful man he was, and God rest his soul.
Can I
And
share a brief story about Durango?
sure, would you?
Yeah,
Thank you.
Durango was the first community that I got to go to and deliver the award. And when I went to Durango, it was like I could walk down the street with Matt Kelly, and it's like so many men that were walking down the street were Warrior Brothers. It was amazing. And later on at the event, it was the whole town showed up for the community event. There was the police department, there was public officials, and there's a school, because so many people in Durango were involved in key leadership positions, and they were doing things. They were going into the jail and holding open men's circles. They were going and supporting women's resource centers. So I just fond memories of Durango and Matt Kelly. And I just want to take a moment. Let's just again honor Matt Kelly, because a lot of Durango, there was more men than Matt Kelly. There's so many men that were involved in it at the time, so the just want a moment to honor Matt Kelly, and then we can move on to the next slide. All right, thank you very much, Ben. Always makes me cry.
Our developing community winner that year was Green Bay, and I do believe Bill Zimmendorf is in the room. Bill, if you'd like to speak to your community then and now, and what you guys have been up to. You're muted.
Okay, I'm unmuted. I think I've got a minute, haven't I, Sultani? So I'll be fairly brief. A lot of what you see here remains the same. We continue to have breakfast with the boys every other week. We follow up with NWTA graduates, although the last couple of years we have not had NWTAs. We use Meetup to market our open circles. We also will do mailings to counselors, and I sent out a mailing to about 50 counselors this past spring to make them aware of our open circles of MKP. We've got 2 I groups. Each has about 12 men in it. Things were really quite strong up until the pandemic. During the pandemic, one I group stayed fairly strong with attendance via Zoom meetings and had about a dozen people in each meeting. The other I group got a little bit softer, where men had some difficulties attending. One of the men in that group was a physician, and he was running the COVID response program for one of the hospitals in town. So he was working so many hours, he just wasn't available. Other men with work commitments, etc., it became more difficult. Some people had poor internet connections where they weren't able to join via Zoom because they were cutting out all the time because of where they live. We are continuing to meet via Zoom. This past year, we just began, or this past spring, both of the I groups began having open circles once again. And we have had a number of men attending those open circles. And I think about 2 days ago, we just started allowing men to sign up for the NWTA that will be in October. And 2 men from the Green Bay community have already signed up, and there may be 1 or 2 others. So that's encouraging. So the groups were quite strong up until the pandemic hit, had a little bit of softness, and I think that we're recovering from that. One of the things that was sad is that last year, John Nemec passed away. So we lost a very, very valuable member from our community. And then Greg Gardner moved to Florida from Green Bay. So we lost 2 men in the Monday night group who were big contributors to the group, and they're sadly missed. But the groups are recovering. We're doing a lot of the things that we have always done. And I think we'll continue to be strong and grow back.
Thanks, Bill. Appreciate that. It's great
Well,
to hear. Moving on to the next year's winners. It's 2017. Our sustaining community that year was Greater Asheville, and they are in the house in numbers tonight. Can you guys unmute? Are they here still?
We're here. Hey, what's
Awesome.
up? What's up, guys? Asheville's here representing. Woo! We're doing awesome. Recovering like everybody is. We've already thrown our first NWTA. We have new community coordinators. Zach right here, Dave Kavanaugh is the new current community coordinator. We're as you all know, one of those unique communities in that we have anywhere between 4 and 7 I groups come and meet in one standard spot and then break up. And we just found this, we're in this place called the Sanctuary now, which is the big room, but there's 9 I group rooms and we fill many of them. And a big circle outside in front of the fire, and just started meeting in person again when FPP USA gave the go ahead. We have some good projects going on in the community too. We've started the Egypt Circle, which we've met every other week with 13 Egyptian guides for the last 2.5 years. 3 years now. Well, since December 2019, the PA when a beautiful, incredible young PhD psychiatrist, man on a mission to change masculinity in Egypt, came through, and he and I got to talking, and with Jeffrey Goldwasser and Stan Cohen, who many of y'all know, started this open circle, and then we raised $11,000 to fly all of those guys to UK, Ireland to do an NWTA, which will happen probably early next year.
Wow.
And we've been doing some local work as well. We've been playing with this thing called the Jedi Council, which stands for Justice, Equity, Diversity, Inclusion, and struggling with that one, working on it and struggling with it. But the community is strong, having some growing pains. A lot of new guys showed up here tonight, which is awesome. Guys are here for their first or second or third times just to come see what's up with MKP USA, and great for them to see you, Bill Kauth. And remember when you came and visited our community in Asheville, we had like 115 guys come to shake hands and say hi. So yeah, our community's strong, doing great. Glad to be here, y'all.
Thank you, guys. I'd really love to see you guys in force like that. Thanks for putting that all together, Zachariah. Really appreciate it.
Our pleasure.
Our next community, the developing community that year, is Gulf Coast. I don't believe Chris could make it, but they won in 2017. They also were doing a lot of community work. They were really tight with the Women Within organization, and a lot of their partners were part of that. So they also created a lot of fun events during the year to do mixers and things of that nature. And like I said, they've done a lot in their own community, just supporting people in the community, the women's shelters and youth and family programs, things of that nature. So definitely congratulations in 2017 to Gulf Coast in the South Central. Moving on, 2018 recipients. Our first sustaining community was Bloomington, and we have a couple of men in from Bloomington tonight. So please, men, speak to what's going on for your community right now, and where you've been and where you are.
Hi, I'm Dave DeBeeke. I'm with the Bloomington community. I remember when our community got this award, I was new to iGroup at the time. But there pre-COVID, we had some strong numbers. We had a lot of strong recruitment happening, mostly word of mouth. Our community coordinator at the time, Ryan Stringer, was being very active on the recruitment side. And right up to when the pandemic started, we had circles for, well, there's two groups. There's a small Tuesday night group that meets, that's a smaller circle, and Thursday had gotten large enough that on many nights we had to split the group into two different circles to keep it going. When the pandemic hit, that became really difficult. We were doing Zoom for a few months, but Zoom was very challenging for a lot of people in our community. Didn't really like it. Didn't feel we could really connect in the way that we like to connect. I think it was the winter 2020. A man who had a property with space provided an outdoor space where we could meet with the privacy to do the work we needed. And we would meet in the winter around fires, and we were social distancing, so the fires only kind of worked. But we did that for a long time. And then we were trying to meet in small groups, you know, at different places. We were at one point reserving rooms at the library where we had a closed private room. And it wasn't until the spring of this year that we were able to return to the Center for Holism, which had been for many years where we met. And so we're back there, which feels wonderful to be back in that space. Our numbers have dwindled through the pandemic, but we do have new men still joining the group. So we're starting to feel like we're rebuilding. Just in June, 3 of us did our in WTA training, including myself. 2 of us, including me, we were waiting a couple of years. We were delayed from when we tried to sign up, and so that felt really good to finally get through that. And one of the men from our community did staff that weekend. We just had our homecoming ceremony, and at that ceremony we had a man who was there as a guest who made a stretch to start coming to iGroup. I myself made a stretch to staff a training in the fall. We had someone representing Women Within, who's married to one of the guys in our community, and I believe she did recruit 2 people, 2 of the women attending there to check out that group. And so there are some things happening.
Thanks.
Yeah, let's see. Did I miss something? Oh, we have not had a pit in Bloomington. Our last group of men, I believe it was 3 men again in 2019. They never had a pit. The plans fell through, and then next thing you know, we were in COVID. So we're planning one now, and we will either run one now or join. Our plan is to maybe join the Louisville group, who is definitely has a pit going on, and so we're trying to get that going. Yeah, and outside of that, I just want to acknowledge through the pandemic, which was a really hard time to hold a community together. There were, for me, I mean, it's more than 3 men, but there were 3 men who really put a lot of effort and energy into connecting with other men and trying to keep something going for us to meet together. And that was Ryan Stringer, who was our community coordinator at the time, Kevin Glenn, who provided property for us to meet to meet outdoors when we had no other place to go, and finding a place with enough privacy was a huge challenge. And Ryan Zaricki, who attended the weekend with me, was another man who kept pushing for iGroup meetings and encouraging others to join. And so I think they made a really big difference through a really hard time.
Thanks, Dave. Appreciate it. Appreciate you being here. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Moving on, I believe I'm going to hand this back to our next community, was East Hawaii. And I don't think, do we have any East Hawaii men in the room? We have Oahu, I know that. We have Big Island men in the room. No, we do not tonight, unfortunately. Definitely have shown up and for each other, and the Hawaii community always has. There's always been a tightness there and an aloha that goes on in Hawaii, and very big on getting men into their circles before they get them onto the weekend. So they have a real strong retention down there as well, which is something I know the Big Island does, as well as do cross activities with women within. And we have also her on the women's side for the MKP sort of side for women. And they do a lot of stuff with them as well. So that was our winner for the sustaining community that year.
I went there and got to witness the horrible situation of the lava flows that happened, and got to witness and talk to the people as far as them showing up when it was happening and rescuing animals, putting people in houses. It was amazing what they did there during that type of a crisis. So just want to shout out to my East Hawaii friends. Dude, you guys are beautiful. Still thinking good memories of you.
Thanks, Dan. Next.
All right, we're ready for our first one. We're gonna announce, big drum roll, super excitement, honoring our 2021 developing community or sustaining community of Piedmont, Greater Carolina. I think we're in the house. Bruce Maxwell's here. Just want to shout out to Bruce Maxwell. Bruce Maxwell has done a lot for our organization, was part of the Stanford Act, which is 5 consultants that came in to help talk about this. And this is where we got some of the great ideas around how to rethink about MKP and growing into communities and retention and relationships. So Bruce, you're up, man. Thank you so much. I want to share the slide though first. Let me do this first, okay? So in each one of these, we always add a slide of what we witnessed or picked out around their things. And in Piedmont, there's engagement efforts, there's new brother engagement, celebration and support, quarterly community gatherings, virtual meetings and men's circles. They do a lot of support for their I groups and men's groups that they run there. And they hold gatherings of the I groups and have hosted trainings in the past, such as the IGFT, and have outreach and connection. They use Meetup and connection with women within and elder connection activities, and especially a focus on diversity and inclusion. So with a lot of that as the highlight though, Bruce, please share us. What's it like in Piedmont?
Well, I suspect in Piedmont, it's a lot like it is everywhere else. But we do have a story, and I'd love to share the story. We just before COVID, we had started out as one group, just a single I group, in a metropolitan statistical area of 1 million souls. So pretty small beachhead here. We fissioned that group, an act of grace by the members of that group. Instead of fighting the fissioning, they really supported it. And so we were able to kind of take one group of about 10 men and create 2 groups of 5, but that became 2 seed crystals, grew our group to about 8 men. And then in my local community, we were down to 4 shortly before COVID. So things were feeling fairly desperate, but we hit on a combination of things that worked really well. We brought in 15 new brothers in the last 2 years during COVID. So, that's quite a challenge without an NWTA. So I'd like to talk just a little bit about some of the things that really worked for us. One of them by far was creating a meetup presence. As COVID forced people, into isolation, the hunger for some sense of community really grew, and we found a lot of men cruising Meetup. We would get somewhere on the neighborhood of 30 men signing up for one who would show up as a guest. It wasn't a great ratio, but we ended up with about 240 men lurking out there, and we would regularly invite men in. The key was guesting. We were very welcoming of guests, and we would make a kind of a special process when a guest comes in to run our rounds in ways where we would preface every round with an educational piece. And when the guest first joined us, we would introduce each man in the circle and ask him to introduce himself. And we've had fairly good luck with it. I would say 1 in 3 guests has actually stuck, which is not a bad ratio. And so the challenge of how do you grow an iGroup, with no intake was really met by inviting men, but taking advantage of modern technology, taking advantage of social media and the option for community, and then just making men feel incredibly welcoming when they showed up. But that inviting a man in and having him want to sit with us isn't necessarily the same as keeping him. So the other thing that's really worked in our community is a strong emphasis on fun. So we do work, we're out there on the carpet crying and screaming, but we also have really focused on having fun. So we get together socially a lot. We organize camping trips. We organize canoe trips. A lot of the men who have come in have said, I have no male friends. And it's very clear that, they're drawn to the idea of having brothers. But at a most basic level of just, can I have some guys that I hang out with and have fun? And so we've really made an effort to go beyond just being a circle that gets to do work, but to be a community that has fun together and building those one-on-one relationships. Another thing that we've done is every quarter we have a community gathering. We're only 2 iGroups. We're not very big. It's not hard to do, but we have made that community cycle a key part of creating brotherhood that's bigger than just our individual iGroup. And I want to give a shout out for Asheville. I'm sure that there are other communities that do a good job with that, but I know they've done a great job with it in building that sense of a community. Another thing that we have done is every 5th meeting is not an iGroup where we do work, but is a social gathering where we go and have fun. We'll meet in a bar, we'll do a barbecue, we'll invite the women in our lives to come in and sit in a group. It's always some event, but it's something that's off the reservation. And then finally, within the tactical density of an individual iGroup, every time a man serves as king, we invite him to run 1 round that is his own. And so every time we show up for iGroup, it's kind of always a new adventure. One man will come in and he will read poetry. Another man will have us do a survey on our psychographic strengths. Another man will lead a conversation about our own spirituality, and we'll all talk about our relationship to God or atheism or the meaning of life or whatever it is. But it keeps each individual iGroup meeting a little bit of a mystery of what's going to happen now. So those are, I think, some of the things that we've done to move ourselves so that we're an iGroup meeting to develop our own emotional maturity and to grow, but also looking to build community, to build friendships, to feed men in other ways. And as a result, there's a great deal of laughter. I just will close with that. Our iGroup and our community gatherings, we just laugh a lot, and when we're doing really serious work, and men are talking about being raped and beaten, and at the same time, we're in life, we're still going, we're still smiling, we're still standing, and we can still laugh. And it's a wonderful juxtaposition. I'll stop there. David Ospina is from our community and made the effort to be here. So David, do you want to just say anything about, what has been attractive about our community for you?
Hey everyone. Absolutely. I've been a member of the iGroup since December 2020, and I feel like every meeting every week I'm learning something new about the men in my group, and it's the first time in my life that I've had a group of men, or a group of people, for that matter, to just be so accepting and to just truly listen to each other and to challenge each other, to hold each other accountable. So I feel like, I don't know, it's just amazing being here and seeing all these people, all these men around the nation holding the same type of principles and mission. And yeah, no, I'm overwhelmed right now just seeing everybody here. So yeah, thank you, Bruce, and thank you to everyone here. And yeah, it's been very valuable to my life, and I look forward to it every week. And I'm really excited to see, my journey as a man, specifically because I'm younger in my group, and just seeing how much has changed within the past 2 years and how much things will change for me for the better moving forward. So yeah, that's all I got to say. Thank you.
Oh, thanks a lot, David. Let's everybody put our hands up. Give a big shout out to Piedmont. Thank you for being our role model this last year, and congratulations for winning the award. Appreciate it.
Dan, can I mention something since we're always on a work continuum?
Sure. Want to be mindful of time. We got 17 minutes.
Very quickly,
Let's do it.
we have indigenous men in the room off the reservation is not necessarily a really good thing to be saying. I want to remind us we're always doing our work. I've heard that term twice today, not just here. So I wanted to bring that to our attention. We have indigenous men in this room, and I, for one, really enjoy my friendship with those men. I want to bring that to our attention. Thank you.
Thank you so much for Trip. That's so important. Please, anybody do that anywhere, anytime, if it's happening. Appreciate it. All right, I think I'm handing it back to you there, Trip, for our next 2019-20.
2019, we're getting closer. Our first community from 2019, Oahu. And yeah, Wayne Bowe's in the room. Wayne, welcome.
Aloha, man. Awesome. First and foremost, Bruce, thank you so much. I really appreciate the little tips there on bringing iGroup freshness, and I'm going to put some of that in bringing it to our iGroup. Yeah, I think like most men here that I've heard speak in previous award recipients, COVID kind of hit us pretty hard. Almost immediately, I developed up a Zoom situation so that we could continue meeting, but a lot of men, that was not satisfactory. They needed the one-on-one. So we had 4 to 7 during much of that time. Opening it back up to in-person meetings has certainly helped. On Oahu, we were doing really well. We had 3 iGroups going, and that has drifted back down to one really solid that's open for any man. And we've had a lot of new men coming in over the last year and a half, some of whom are now just chomping at the bit to get to Kauai in September for our first Hawaii NWTA since early 2020, maybe late 2019. So yeah, hard blows, but we're forging ahead. Really appreciating the community juice that I'm feeling, and inspired to start making some phone calls and getting in touch with some of the men who were rock solid prior to COVID and have kind of drifted away and just never really eased back into us, and see if there's more interest in that. Mike Davis is also on this call. He's huge support on Oahu, holding down an iGroup that meets periodically, maybe every other week over in Kaneohe. He travels a lot, so it's kind of hit or miss there a little bit, but he's also been instrumental in our monthly open circles, which is awesome. I don't know if you'd like to speak to that, Mike, but yeah, so grateful for NKP. I don't know what I think probably would have gone a little bit stir crazy had it not been for being able to meet in some fashion. The Zooms, which I acclimated to, and when we came back into person, it was like, oh my God, I didn't realize how much I've been missing hugging men and being face to face and in that energy as we do our group. So thanks very much.
Thanks,
I
Wayne.
can speak a little if you want me to. Can you all hear me pretty good? Just checking my audio. Yeah, I was I-group coordinator for a couple years for Oahu and actually all of Hawaii, the state. And our open men's circle I'd say it's kind of a small, smooth stream of flow, people coming in, especially in COVID, it was helpful. And it continues, and it's also for the state of Hawaii. But yeah, like Wayne said, the COVID, I think, hit hard for Oahu, being a larger populated area. And there's definitely hunger for more. And Waynebo, I don't know if he said it, but he holds a group that averages between 9 to 12 men every week. And they show up like nobody's business. And Wayne's not even there sometimes. And they're still there. So we're inkling around. And I think it's going to get better as time progresses. And we have motivated men. I'll say that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Waynebo. Thank you guys for being here. Appreciate that. Our next winner that year was New York, upstate New York. Do we have anybody from upstate? I think we were going to have, it was Robert Conway, and he got sick tonight, so he couldn't come. He did write Dan and I and let us know. They also went through some difficulty through COVID, but they're managing now and they're coming out of it. So unfortunately, Robert really wanted to be here, but right before he did write us and let us know he was not feeling well. Dan, anything you want to say?
Just their relationship with the Gandhi Peace Institute and some of the national things that they've done there, and bringing our organization into that national presence of the peace. So thanks a lot.
Next, we're going to 2020, just a couple years ago, and we have Bruce, who's here from Ventura. That was our winner that year from LA. How are you, Bruce?
I'm doing well, thank you. So, what have we been up to for the last year? In the first year, we called each and every man in our community and reached over 50% of them, and we've been told that that's actually very, very good. This last year, we went back to try to fill in the gaps. Recalled the men that we could not contact before. I also made follow-up calls to men who had noted, not now, and asked them to back to group. Our community started off with 3 I-groups. During COVID, we went down to 1 I-group. It's incredibly strong I-group. Just two meetings ago, we had 18 men in attendance. We have, at last count, we had 5 men who had expressed an interest in the upcoming NWTA. And so that's been really, really great. It's an open I group, and we readily invite uninitiated men. We have not been able to have a community gathering since COVID started, but we're scheduling one for September. And so that's long overdue. Hats off to men within the community and the Downtown Ventura I group. They're really on fire. And like anything, you do something and all of a sudden other people notice it. So several of us have been called into service for the area as a whole. And yes, I know we were not supposed to mention the area, but the Los Angeles and San Diego areas are merging or unifying. And out of that will come 2 brand new communities. And they have some growing, and at least we can share our path. and what has been successful with them and encourage them. And I think our community would like to build stronger relationships with the community just north Santa Barbara. And I know Tom Vazance is here representing them. And so with that, yeah, love the work. Blessings to all of you.
Thanks, Bruce. I just want to mention, I've worked with Bruce. He's done so much for that community and done a lot of the heavy lifting and hard work over there in terms of organizing those men and getting men back in the fold. So thanks, Bruce, for showing up the way you do for the project as a whole. I really appreciate it, brother. You're one of those model community coordinators that we just love. So thank you. Moving on, we are now looking at San Luis Obispo, and hopefully Ken Fry is still in the room. Ken should be here from SLO, another great community in Northern Cal that I particularly enjoy visiting when I was from the LA community originally. So, and I actually did my weekend up in the Santa Barbara area, not too far from SLO. So, Ken, you here?
Yes, Ken Fry here from San Luis Obispo community. Yes.
Speak to your community, brother. Let us know what you're doing. How you been? How you fared?
It's been a great ride. We let's see. Kevin Halber is also in my community. I'm not sure if he's on the call tonight. I hope he is. But it's been a great ride in our community since before COVID. It was pretty thriving. During COVID, we've been trying to recover a little bit with trying to bring men into our open eye group. We do have a few, I'd say 3 open eye groups in our San Luis Obispo community, and they all appear to be doing pretty well. We have an average of about I think 5 men in ours, and I think the others might have about an average of about 7 men per meeting. So yeah, we're holding together here, and got some really strong men on our council, and yeah, keeping it rolling. So it's been awesome seeing you guys on the call tonight. Oh, thank you.
Thanks, Ken, and thanks for showing up. I really appreciate it, brother, and good to hear your voice again. Ken was on my weekend as a staffer. I remember him well. Moving on.
All right, are you guys ready? We're ready to announce our second winner. Yep. Getting there for the Bill Kauth, honoring the 2021 winner for Sustaining Community is Willamette Valley, man. Willamette Valley has been in the running for quite a while. They've always shown up really, really good. I'm so happy they got it this year. Just really fueled by Jim Drewels, but there is many people that show up. They have a whole team. We talk about this don't do it alone stuff. Willamette really shows us. Russell Bourne, David Demeray, Jim Drews, Raymond Albano, and Jay Hansen, a whole group of men coming together to jumpstart and have done so many different things. We're going to talk about some of those projects that they worked on and some of their activities, and we're going to have them be able to speak. If you can go to the next slide, they got 15 eye groups, 495 NWTA grabs, but they do outreach initiatives, mission and service action projects, membership initiates. They hold online and face-to-face gatherings and using open men's circles. They have mentors and ambassadors and integration guides assigned, and succession planning is very, very big in Willamette Valley. They do a lot of support for circles, have a community eye group coordinator, have experienced eye group facilitators helping and visiting. And I'm going to show you a picture later on that talks about some additional projects to support eye groups, which I've never seen before, that are just phenomenal as far as how much energy they put into the supporting of their eye groups. Efforts to create new eye groups too, and they regularly host online open men's groups and have eye group rep meetings, which is really, really good, especially for a community when you have eye group reps, each eye group coming together in a meeting talking about the wellness. And their main mission is that, again, that team building aspect and bringing teamwork, love, and fun to all things that they do, that fun thing. I'm going to show you some slides, and then I'm going to go ahead and let them speak. Go on to the next one. We have some actual pictures here. Here's a picture of their eye group rep meeting that they do on Zoom. So look at how many iGroup reps are showing up to talk about the quality of their iGroups and what could be even done better, and sharing their strengths and their hopes and their challenges. It's just wonderful. And go ahead to the next picture. And a bunch of them got together and created this book for iGroups that has different modules in it. The iGroup Jumpstart Manual. What a great thing. I bet we're going to try to get that over in the iGroup Council and see what we can do with it and add to our iGroup toolkit. But look at this. This is beautiful. Let's go on to the next slide too. And they do community fun events. So they do all sorts of activities and make sure that they're having fun together, especially for the gathering of the iGroups that they do. I think that's the last slide I have for pictures. Let's go to having some of those men speak. So many of you are on the call that are part of that leadership team with Willamette. I'll let whoever wants to go first, will let you guys handle it. I'll hand it off to you guys.
This is Raymond Albano. I'll go ahead and jump in. It's so great to be with all the men on this call. This feels to me like an iGroup rep call. Men checking in for their areas. Yeah, a couple of things that we learned in our community that have really made a difference. One is that we've observed men, pick up a heavy load and carry it for as long as they can, and then they burn out and disappear, and it's like you got to start over. So we don't do that anymore. We're doing things now, and as a team, we have 4, as Dan said, on the team, and that has made these meetings really easy lifting. It's a joy to come together monthly on our leader team calls, and that's been a blessing. Another thing that's working is, like Jim Drews has been holding a vision for what's possible. And he has we all have a gift to bring. And when we come together as a team, we're able to use those gifts. One of the gifts that I see in Jim is, his vision and his strategy for, what's possible, where the direction that our community can go. Jim, you might want to talk a little bit about that and anything else.
Thanks, Raymond. Yeah, when our community was kind of in a reset stage, and I'm like, okay, well, I was the lead elder in the community, so I decided, what if we created teams, and so the teams, and then what if we did it from a place of we're in a marathon rather than in a sprint? So let's just take it as slow as we need to in order to support each man of where they're at, and then find out what's in the way of your leadership, and kept asking men what's going on that's in your way, and get those blocks out of the way. And what we found is that men are not leaving the leadership area, but they're asking and supporting other men to come into the leadership. We've got like Dan showed that picture, our iGroup reps. I mean, we have a monthly call that through Zoom made it possible, because we're 11,000 square miles in our area or our community, and so Zoom actually made it possible for our community to expand. And so we were just able to reach out to all the iGroups, get them to get a rep, and actually have 2, so they have a co-rep, so their group is represented every month. And that's been a really good way of allowing men to show up. It's kind of been our community, and then take all the information back to their iGroups, and so that's how we've been building and creating more, all of our other groups. Like we've got a communications team. We now have been, for almost a year now, been putting out a monthly newsletter, which has just been phenomenal. And we're reaching 144 men every month. Open it up, and we're hoping to build that number, but right now it's just growing. And then we also have the meetup page, and we've had probably since COVID, we've had probably 10 guys through meetup that now are sitting in iGroups, and so we have a lot of energy to really help men find their way into the project. So that's a little bit from my place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thanks, Jim. And leadership has been a big part of it, just holding the space for leaders. We're all leaders looking for opportunities to call men in, invite men into their leadership, give them a piece. We don't have to do it all. We we got a habit of trying to do it all ourselves. It takes something to give it away, and it's making a difference. And Kelly, you've been, you know, an example of a man that stepped in and taken a piece. You're leading our pit team, and now you're stepping in, you know, and leading at a higher level. Anything you want to say?
Really, I have been blessed to be in group with Jim. That guy has amazing energy and an amazing vision, as was mentioned, and he has a way of getting men to step into leadership. It's, you know, use their gift, recognize what their gift is. And he approached me a long time ago and said, I think you could do this kind of stuff. And it's been, you know, a pretty scary ride. It seems like every time he talks to me, he frightens me about something. And I realized, okay, that's got me scared. Maybe I should take a look at it. And yeah, I'm involved all over the Northwest in the local community, and I really owe it all to Jim. I think he is the glue that holds our community together and gets men to recognize the gifts that they hold inside. And an amazing man. I love him for that. So I'll be in with that. Thank you, Raymond.
Yeah, Kelly. Yeah, and David Demery. David was served as a community coordinator, you know, solely before we did create a team of community coordinators, or a coordinating community team is a better way to say it. And David has since stepped off. David, it's good to see you on this call. Jay Hansen has stepped in to take your place. David, you want to say anything?
Yeah, you said it. Yeah, having a team where I can step off and someone else can step in has made it possible for me to really stretch out the amount of time I was willing to devote to leadership there. And knowing that having someone like Jay step in has just made it like, oh, it's in good hands, you know. And having the other you three men still on the team, knowing it's going to be a smooth transition, and just makes all the difference in having solid leadership in the valley. Thank you.
Yeah. And Jay, I see you're new onto the leader team. Anything you want to say, brother?
Yes. First of all, Mike Davis, I just sent you a chat. I need your contact in Oahu. So if you could look at your chat, I got a chat sent your way. I need your contact. So I would like to draw everybody's attention to Jim Drews. I would like everybody to look at Jim and look at the beautiful hairdo that he went to the beauty shop and got his hair done for this meeting. And you all see that smile on his face right there? You see that smile, that soul satisfying, fulfilling, just reassuring smile? That smile has gotten me through 2 years of shit. And I love you so much for that, Jim. I appreciate your leadership and everything you've done, and your beautiful hair tonight. And it's just absolutely wonderful. Bill mentioned some things briefly on community, and I'm going to say that Jim's leadership created the framework for a community for me to be involved with, and got me. I felt like I expanded my horizons through the pandemic time, simply due to being reached out by you, David, and Jim, and all of the active engagement and energy that everyone in the Willamette Valley brings to anything that they do. Very grateful, very thankful, and very blessed for you men. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jay.
All I got to say.
Great to have you on the team.
Yep.
All right, let's everybody. Are you guys okay?
Go ahead, Dan.
Just want to move to let's everybody just put our hands up and honor our second community, Willamette Valley, for role modeling, teamwork, fun, excitement, projects, connection, truly outstanding example of what MKP community can be. Thank you.
And great hair.
Yes, and fun, and fun. On that note, I'm just going to wrap up with a brief words around that sense of community. How I believe that they talked about it on the Oprah show around the 4 needs of young boys, especially with their fathers, as well as for all human beings, is to be seen, to be valued, to be challenged, and to be celebrated. And we have an opportunity. There's so much divisiveness in the world. There's so much hurt and angst. Most people are wanting connection in a healthy way that handles diversity and differences, but is fun and heartfelt. And that's our mission. And invitation. I can't, they talk about Jim. He invites people. Thank you. I just really want to role model, emphasize that. Everybody, if we invite people to play, it's the biggest gift we can give to the world, is teaching people this new way of being, this heartfelt way of being. So truly, all you community coordinators and all you communities out there, thanks for showing up and showing and doing mission. Boyson, anything else before we go?
Beautiful. Thank you all. I removed pin. We're going to switch over to gallery view. We can all see each other's faces once again. MKP USA Chair Daryl Handsome, would you like to send us out?
But thank you, Boyson. Yeah, I'm so pleased to be a part of this community, this region. Our communities here are the heart and soul of MKP USA. You really are. And having been a community coordinator myself, I applaud those of you who step up and take time and lead your communities. And yeah, I'm really I'm really very grateful. And so men, thank you. Thank you, Boyson.
Yeah, that's it. And I have yet to hear anything tonight about something that I really need to hear about on every meeting. Jim Katona.
Spirit of harmonious cooperation with respect.
I don't know why you needed me to be here when Andy's here.
Big love to everybody. Go forth with the spirit of harmonious cooperation with respect.
Zoom hug, Zoom hug.
Love Zoom hug. I like that.
Love you, man. So good to see so many of you.
Love you guys.
Love you, man.
For the honor.
Good night, man.
Good night.
Good job, guys. Good job.
That's my quota. Bye.
Love you. Bless.
Yo. There is a shift happening. It's happening. I see it happening.
Feel that.
There's a deep shift happening in the energy. The energy shifting. I can feel it.
Beautiful.
Nice job, guys.